Four things every smart football fan should know. Well, can you take those four things and apply it to video from Rattler and Haener playing last year for the Saints? Well, I got the video. There's the list of four things. Let's put it together and see what we can figure out. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. This video is an offshoot of, and I mentioned it in our previous video, and I'll try to remember to put a link up here in this corner, where Merritt Football, a channel on YouTube run by Caleb Merritt, plays for University of Wyoming. It's a wide receiver and a defensive back. Kind of touches on, not kind of, does a great job of touching on some football concepts. And like I said, it's almost like a really excellent version of football for dummies because concepts that I understand he can make clearer. Some of them that aren't that clear to me, he can make clear. And he recently did a video, which is four things every smart football fan should know. And you watch his videos, he makes you smarter, trust me. So the four things are, and I'm break this down, talk about it real quick. First thing he starts off with is 2-minute formula. And 2-minute drill in football is kind of the ultimate combination of situational football along with a lot of the things in 2, 3, and 4 that we're going to talk about encompassing that. But it's not a situation where I could show you one play in a video and break it all down. It's more like you'd have to show the 2-minute drill. You'd have to talk about the whole 2-minute drill. And in context of the game itself and the external things going around the football team at the time. And we had a lot of problems externally and internally last year. So when you're talking about a series of plays, to me, right now, it's a little tougher to digest than just a single play where we're focusing on how, and in this particular place, we're talking about quarterbacks, how the quarterback is operating in the process, in the system to produce positive yards, to produce the big play, to produce a score. And in the context of we want to learn these things within an individual play so we can look at a quarterback, we can look at the play, or even if it's going to be footage from practice and training camp, where we can look at what they're doing and go, okay, there's some concept, there's some real stuff there that phase two, and that's what these four things are really talking about. Phase two, but now we've got the physical component added in. Now we're looking at his arm strength or his touch or his timing, or in some cases, his mobility to extend a play or his mobility to tuck the ball and run because that's what the defense is actually giving it. More importantly, I think he puts it as number 4, but I think quarterback composure may be the biggest component outside of the actual physical. Because when push comes to shove, we have to acknowledge that I said this in the last video, and I mean, it's redundant, but I'm going to say it again because it's important. Quarterback doesn't have the physical traits, and he doesn't need all of them. That would make him one of the best quarterbacks ever, but it would be nice in our case if that happened. But he needs enough of those physical traits. Whatever arm talent, whatever off-platform throw, mobility, whatever it is, he has to have enough of that in his tool bag to be an NFL quarterback. Because if he doesn't, all the intangible phase 2 stuff in the world is not going to help him win enough football games. And it's not unique to quarterbacks. You could say that about every position. There's just a minimum skill level they've got to have that if they don't have it, there's not really much you can do with it. Second thing that I want to bring up before we start breaking down videos, I'm in no way, shape, or form. I'm using some videos, 3 with Rattler, 2 with Haener. No endorsement or condemnation of either one or their ability to possibly win the starting quarterback job, because it's not what this video is about. What this video is about is they just happen to be quarterbacks on plays where, kind of show what Caleb Merritt's talking about. Why is it relevant to our upcoming starting quarterback battle that's going to start roughly July 23rd? The third thing that I'm going to have to mention is YouTube copyright can sometimes just be a little hazy, and I am not going to know till I go to upload the video whether they're kosher with it or they're going to flag it, and I'm going to have to do some edits. Hopefully everything works out fine, but when you watch this, you may see where I had to blur some stuff or skip over or make some kind of jump cuts that may not be clean in the video. I'm hoping I won't have to, but just in case it's there, my apologies in advance. Because we are using game footage from the NFL channel, NFL YouTube channel. 3 games we're going to break down, plays from the Saints versus Washington and both Saints versus Tampa Bay the first time around in week 6, I believe it was, and then the Saints Denver game. So all that being said, of the 4, the 3 that I am focusing this video on is the read grass, not guys, which is it's a read. It's pre-snap, post-snap, what's going on, what's the correlation, but basically Caleb Merritt's philosophy of, hey, read the grass, where there's space. We need players and the ball to intersect in that space where there's no defensive players. And his point kind of being there's always going to be space somewhere. And it's going to be up to the quarterback and its supporting cast to go find it and make plays there. Understanding motion. All teams use motion unless Pete Carmichael's your offensive coordinator, in which case you use none. But what you're trying to accomplish with that motion, which is basically a small part of what we're trying to accomplish in the offense as a whole, and specifically about quarterbacks, like we talked about in the last video. He's damn sure got to know what he's doing, but he's got to know what everybody else is doing. Motion is part of that. How is that going to help set up the play? How is that going to help find the space? How is that going to help him figure stuff out in coverage? All that is encompassing into what's going on in running the offense. And because defenses have gotten smarter, like Cooper Kupp said, the defense is going to have a counter for that. How are you going to be able to handle that? And then again, quarterback composure. Don't panic. You know, keep it together. Even if a play breaks down, can you turn that around and make a play out of it? We have some examples in the video of that. And if you can't, just don't make it worse. Just, if you got to throw it away, throw it away. You absolutely have to take the sack because that's the best case scenario to avoid turnover or something else bad happening. You got to suck it up and take the sack, whatever the case may be. So I think what I broke down in those 5 plays, trying to encompass those 3 aspects, and then together, as we start progressing this, as we start seeing stuff and hearing stuff coming out of training camp, we start seeing preseason games. I mean, the ultimate goal is these basic, simple things that all NFL teams have to do, but we're going to focus specifically on the quarterbacks. Do we have enough there to get it done? Or this time next year, we're going to be talking about a new quarterback battle because we had to go ahead and draft one in the first round last year, or whatever we have to do. Said it in the last video, and I'm gonna end this with this before we jump into the videos. Really and truly, including Deckers, which one of the 4 is going to come out of phase 3 in the offseason, going in the ready to kick off game 1. Whoever grabs that starting quarterback job has got to play better and better every week, in my mind, for 17 weeks and really lock down that job, improve. He is not only what we thought he could be, but what we need him to be. So we don't have to be one of these teams that every year we're trying to figure out that quarterback issue. So breaking down a few plays in what Caleb Merritt was talking about, the 4 things that every smart football fan should know. When we're looking at the quarterbacks, pulled a play. This is Rattler to Means for a touchdown in the first Tampa Bay game. And right away, they've got 5 defenders on the line of scrimmage, 4 defenders off the ball. Kind of guessing this is likely too deep, but both safeties are off screen, so not 100% sure, but probably best case scenario. But it could be a single high safety, and there's a safety just kind of off screen waiting to pick somebody up in man coverage, because when the ball snapped, We were trying to run some type of screen pass, it looks like, and that got blown up by the edge defender. Moreau can't get out. Prentice isn't quite on him yet. And you can already see the off the ball guys are already starting to flow that way. Bub Means is right at the edge of your screen. He's got a break on the corner to be able to beat him deep. So what's going to happen at this point is going to depend a lot on where those safeties are. You're kind of guessing if it's single high, you're going to have some space reading the grass. That's one of the things that Caleb Merritt talked about. If you're reading the grass, probably something on the outside somewhere. If it's too high safety or a single high safety, somewhere on the outside, probably deep towards the end zone. Too high safety, probably going to be looking for something intermediate or possibly crossing across the field, coming from the right side of the formation where Rashid was lined up. And then you got to kind of keep your eye on what those off the ball guys are going to do at this point. And the off the ball guys are reading everything to the left. They're running that way to pick it up. Nobody's really getting any depth back. So there has to be some grass somewhere back in that secondary at this point. You've got a lot of guys jammed up at the line of scrimmage. Now you're looking at our fullback and our tight end right there. So that's two of the potential five receivers. So there's only three more working back there, but we could probably guess a little bit what happens after this. Because what you're looking at here is that's Bub Means with a lot of grass, reading the grass, a lot of space back there. Rattler makes a good throw towards the boundary. So there's pretty much in this position. Means is going to be the only one really with a chance to catch it. Deep safety had picked up Shaheed. That is Antoine Winfield, their primary free safety. So no matter kind of what they were doing back there, they did a good job of finding the grass in this formation, and Means beating the corner right off the bat helped out tremendously because that corner was playing catch up. So now you had that ability to throw the ball deep. So when the screen or the short pass, whatever we were really trying to do, that got blown up initially. Another concept that Caleb Merritt talks about, quarterback composure. Rattler made a good decision there. You know, he was able to recognize this is blown up and kind of in the concept, where's my space? Where are my receivers breaking into, read the grass, not the guys, where they're supposed to be, where there's potentially space on this field based on what the formation was pre-snap and what happened post-snap. In this case, everything kind of went according to plan, even though initially our first option was blown up right off the bat. But decision making after that, the process after that, it came out, kind of good for us because we get a touchdown out of this play. So the next one we're going to pull up, this unfortunately, same Tampa Bay game, week 6. A lot of things that were done right, but it wasn't, the outcome we were looking for on this one. This would be when Rattler threw an interception this game on a pass intended for Shaheed. Now, we know it's a single high safety, and we know that because right now, already pop up on screen, there's 10 defenders up here. More than likely, with all 10 defenders up there and looking like a press down on the bottom of the screen, that the receiver, the two receivers at the bottom of the screen that defenders 1 and 2 are covering, we're probably pretty much reading straight man all the way on this, with Winfield being the single high safety and just back there playing center field, potentially cleaning up any mess that may occur. So Rashid's going to come out of the slot, and he's trying to get pressed, but you get play action on this, slows down the pass rush. The offensive line does a great job. Shaheed gets off pretty clean, and he is definitely cutting somewhere towards the middle of the field. Rattler has a clean pocket, and he knows where he wants to go with the ball, and he's trying to take a deep shot down. Now, if you're thinking about single high, there should be a lot of space down there because he is not necessarily going to run to any particular zone. He is reading the ball and then going to try to make a play on that. And Shaheed is the intended receiver. He came all the way across the formation, and he has a step on the defender, and he is moving towards the sideline, more of a kind of a posted across the field, running almost a flag right now that he's crossed the other hash. And if you notice, that single high free safety is nowhere to be found at the moment. And what's really going to happen here is when we're talking about reading grass, finding the space just beyond him on the 45, especially if you can, this is not going to be an easy throw, but if you can drop that dime kind of around the 45, more towards the sideline than upfield, get a ball over that defender that's trailing him and still keeping Rashid away from the free safety's coming. We just don't know where he's at yet, and we're going to see him in a second. But potentially keep Shaheed from getting his head separated from his body, something we saw too much last year at various times, and it happened earlier in this game to Olave. But unfortunately, what happens is, and this is a case, I think, where everything was done correctly up until the ball was released. Because Winfield, we see now, he was closing right about the time the ball got there and the defender made the interception. He's about 5-6 yards away from getting in there. So he's not that far away. But that's Rashid Shaheed. So if you get him the ball where he can keep moving towards that sideline, and again, tough pass, tough angle, trying to keep him away from Winfield a little bit. Shaheed's so explosive. He tracks the ball so well that he's a guy on our team that could make that catch and still possibly turn upfield. And in a foot race, if he gets squared up on field between him and Antoine Winfield, even with Winfield being relatively close, I'm taking Shaheed every day of the week and twice on Sundays until somebody like Winfield, who is a great free safety, all pro caliber guy. I'm taking Shaheed until that safety proves, no, 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 I can still track this ball. And even if he catches it, I can keep him from scoring. I think on the pass, again, I think good decisions, good thing happened all the way up, but some kind of way, whether, it was just a throw that Rattler was off on a little bit. He was trying to get more towards the sideline to Shaheed. Or maybe he made the mistake of trying to put it too much on Shaheed because Shaheed actually slowed down and jumped and trying to get to the ball, allowing the defender to kind of make up that's probably about a full step Shaheed had on him to get back in and make the interception. It could be just one of those things that Rattler was a rookie, and a year before playing at South Carolina, there's a better than average chance, way better than average chance. Most of the times when a throw like this would happen at that level, the receiver with a full step, you put the ball on him and it's a completion. And if you lead him just slightly, he can run to it, catch it, and turn upfield. But NFL being a little different, not so much. No matter what happened, and that's about three of the possibilities I can come up with. There could be others, but kind of no matter what happened there, I think all of them are correctable mistakes. Whatever the actual, using air quotes, mistake that happened on this throw, which, greater scheme of things, if Shaheed has 2 or 3 steps on the defender, it's still going to likely be a completion. It's just, it was a fine line. Whatever the margin of error was, it was something that Tampa Bay defensive back, I mean, he made a great play to pick that. He was able to keep him in the play. But I think the bottom line is, no matter what it is, it's a correctable situation. It's something Rattler probably learned immediately, going, I don't ever want to do that again, or I need to do this slightly better, whatever the case may be. In a situation where if it comes down to the throw being a little off, timing and practice, and that'll fix that. Remember, Rattler was not the starter. He was the backup most of the time up until the point that Carr received that first injury, and he got a chance to start starting games. So going back to Caleb Merritt's four things every smart football fan should know. I think you're going to pull from this play, Tampa Bay, this completion, Rattler to Moreau, where in this one, unlike the previous one on the interceptions where everything kind of went right until the very end, this one's one of those, again, not so much. They get a little off schedule, but reading the grass, keeping composure as the quarterback, kind of, you know, playing for the best, prepare for the worst situation develops here, and they're able to make a play. We're working straight off play action, And at the top of the screen, you had a deep route to keep the safety in. You've got a linebacker or off the ball guy kind of reading Rattler and ready to spy him. But basically, most of the defense bit on a wide zone run fake. The offensive line is blocking like it's wide zone right off to the offensive right, and the ball's getting pulled, and Rattler's moving left on the rollout. So now he's got a defender off the ball, one of the linebackers, kind of spying him. Hey, what's Rattler going to do? And in a weird sort of way, we've got Means, and I believe that's Prentice. All of a sudden, two guys converging on routes in the same area. Well, that off the ball guy just went from spying Rattler to going to coverage and looking and going, oh, I get to cover two guys basically by standing here and still able to keep his eyes up the field on what Rattler's doing. What Rattler's doing is realizing we've got something kind of off here. He's setting up to throw the ball, and where he's looking to grasp, because what we know here, some type of man or even a matchup zone behind him, and they have one defender covering two of our guys basically at this point. There's still a lot of grass going on back there because most of the defenders took themselves out taking that run fake that we were going wide zone to right. Should be crossing routes. There should be somebody, whether it's intermediate or deep, finding some space and settling in. Again, Tampa played a lot of single high in this game, and this is another one where it was likely single high man, or again, it could have been single high where they had a little matchup zone component thing going on. But either way, there should either be space deep or space and intermediate crossing the field. And when he looks up and where he looks, wide open. In that intermediate area of Moreau coming off the line, kind of snuck in there, found a huge amount of grass that Spencer Rattler was reading. And what's more, at the top of our screen, we had a deep route, some type of up, it looks like, going up that left sideline. So that single high, Winfield had to stay home. He had to stay back there. Puts him in a position where he's kind of able to get back to the middle of the field and keep Moreau from scoring on this play. But just a little, as simple as the concepts that Caleb Merritt brought up on those 4 points, as complicated as a play could get, because this one did a little bit, and I'm pretty sure we had a boo-boo with two guys running into the same defender, allowing both of them to be covered by one guy. You still unwound the complexity of that to just kind of simply, hey, find the grass and get a ball to the player. This one introduced one concept of understanding motion. Now, we don't know how much motion Kellen Moore is going to bring in. Kubiak tried to use a lot of it, and it was pretty effective the way he used it, coming off our previous offensive coordinator right before him who refused to do it. Kellen Moore is going to have a plan on this, and this is a great example of reading the motion and reading the grass and not the players, and kind of understanding the concept of, the situational in the moment, how we're going to be able to complete a pass and get the ball in space. This is in the Washington game when Haener, his one start, and I hate to say, but honestly, this is one of the few plays that in the first half while he was playing quarterback really looked good in the way it was designed, set up, and executed. And the motion starts right off the bat because Alvin Kamara is motioning towards the bottom of your screen in the backfield and coming up to the line of scrimmage. And that alone right there, with the defenders doing, with Lattimore, who's down at the bottom of your screen, even though he's kind of peeking in the backfield, this is showing some type of matchup aspect. The slot defender has definitely got Alvin man. There could be some type of matchup zone concept going on behind this because Lattimore doesn't look like he's looking to press and he's peeking in the backfield, but it's Lattimore and he might have just been peeking when he shouldn't have. Hard to say right here because what's going to happen here, and it's real easy for Haener to figure out. Kamara gets inside position on the guy trying to defend him. In fact, I kind of stopped this at the right point. It almost looked like he put a move in breaking that guy's ankles, but he's getting to the inside, and that's where the space is. Right at the edge of your screen on the left, you can see a defender. It's kind of sitting there. That's why I'm thinking this is some type of matchup zone. Like he's kind of sitting in the zone because I don't believe he's spying Jake Haener for any reason and just waiting to see what comes across. And this is important because if you don't recognize that guy is there, whether he is spying or playing some matchup zone component, he can kill somebody coming across the field in this space. And everybody kind of picks up on it because that inside release, Kamara takes a little more up the seam instead of taking the full release and crossing that. Let's just say this, we'll call him a spy for lack of a better word. The middle linebacker spying, able to find a crease in there, and Haener doing a good job of reading the grass and realizing where that space is going to come. Threads the needle with a good pass that gets Alvin yards after catch, the magic words you want to see in this situation, but also in a position he catches the ball and is able to turn upfield. He's got those two guys on his back, and he can go anywhere and do anything he wants because he's squared up and he's Alvin with another defender coming up to try to tackle him. Well, if you want to see yards after the catch, one of the best to look at doing it is once Alvin gets in his position, would, just beat the brakes off that defender trying to come up and tackle him. And then you've got various defenders running down the field trying to drag him down. I believe he went for about another 10, 11 yards. I kind of clipped the end of it. But it was like another 10, 11 yards after he split the first two defenders and juked the next guy out of his shoes, gained about another 10 or 11 before they finally ran him down and got him to the ground. This is Haener touchdown pass into Cedric Wilson Jr. wrapping up the end of the Denver game. But this is another example of, you read the grass, not the guys. Looking for that space pre-snap and then making sure it's there post-snap. And if it isn't, well, finding the space. Space is going to be there somewhere on a defense. They were not clearly stated bringing the pressure, and Vance Joseph was not unleashing them like they did earlier in the game with Rattler. But at the same time, they were obviously playing, and you can go in earlier in this drive, pull some plays where they're bringing some pressure. They're doing some reads with their linebackers about whether they're going to pressure the quarterback, dropping into coverage. Just, I don't think it was to the volume and intensity they were doing earlier in the game. I think this was more of, we don't want to give up a touchdown, but, if you want to drive the ball down the field, kill the clock while you're doing it, or kick a field goal or whatever, we don't care. But I think they had a pure intent of playing enough defense to try to keep us out the end zone. That being said, Rattler, like we said, got pulled. Haener came in, kind of walked him down the field with a couple nice throws and finding space. He had won a couple plays earlier to Tipton. The play right before this, he found Wilson in space. And as they're lining this up, because this is in the red zone, you're looking, big chunk of space right there, right off the hash in front of the safety. And it looks like everything's covered up, but you're about ready to watch that slot corner. He's coming to blitz. And that makes Cedric Wilson the main character in this story at this point when he's coming off the line. He's got free release right in that area just prior where we saw they had some space in the defense for an offensive player to get in there and do something and be able to get a completion. Haener's looking at him all the way, pretty much got this figured where, okay, I know where I'm going with this. They had a 7-man rush on this. That's 7 defenders all around a pocket. We had that's what I'm saying. They weren't conceding anything here. They wanted to keep us out of the end zone. We picked everything up. Fantastic. He's got a clean pocket. He knows the whole time where he's gone with the ball, and he knows he's got to get rid of it quick because they're coming, which he's able to do. He hits Wilson for the touchdown. Beautiful job. And when you see it from the end zone camp, kind of almost from Haener's point of view, this is right after the snap. We've seen the blitz is coming, that they're bringing extra people for a total of 7. So there's only 4 defenders back there trying to match this up and cover it. Well, the guy that was behind the slot player that blitzed, that safety, sitting back on the end zone, he can't exactly come running up. He's actually in a bind. So he comes up. Wilson's liable to go right by him. He sits back. This is what's going to happen. We did a good job here, of course, of picking up the blitz. So let's give the offensive line their props for one of the few times in this game that we can. But also the quarterback and the slot receiver kind of recognize what's going on, finding the grass. And there is still plenty of grass, even as he throws the ball. Haener, again, when he's in rhythm and at his best, he's going to put balls on time and on target and hit guys where they can catch it and go make a play. So that's what we have for you today. I hope, like I said, not an endorsement, not a condemnation for either one of those quarterbacks. Don't have anything from the rookies. Kind of looked at some of their highlights, and it's still more difficult because highlight reels tend to focus just on that player, and it's a little harder sometimes to see what else is going on. But these plays, I kind of remembered specifically some of the games, the three that we chose, looking at some aspects of it going, I know some of the stuff that we want to hopefully see from our quarterbacks going forward. Either Haener or Rattler managed to do it in those games. And also include the one with the Rattler interception, not a knock on Rattler, but just showing how everything can go good and still something can go kind of wrong at the very end. And you not only do you not get the desired outcome, it actually hurts you a little bit. Just the nature of the game. So first time here, please go ahead, like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. You hit that thumbs up button, helps me out a lot, and I cannot thank you guys and you gals enough for the support the channel has been picking up lately. Just over July 4th weekend. I hope y'all all had a good one. I did. Um, I got to 900 subscribers, and that's through your support, and I thank you very much because I'm getting that much closer, kind of to that magic 1,000 subscriber mark. Thank you again. Coming up next, going back to the four, there may be an upcoming video a little more on the 2-minute formula, but I suspect that may be something we will have to revisit a little closer to training camp, but we'll see. But I do expect there's some positions we still need to talk about. I think tight end's one of them. Been working on something for that. And of course, as we get closer in the next 2 weeks or so, a little less than 3 weeks, to training camp, there's always still the chance we can see some kind of roster shakeup still coming in. The Saints have the ability to go look for some free agents if they want to do it. And if they're going to do it, likely to happen in the next 10 to 14 days, likely somewhere in that scenario. So we'll keep an eye on that. So till the next time I see you, I'm Tim. Peace out and hoot at.